Hey there, my friend. Let's go deeper with a question and have a self-connection, shall we? Here it is. Have you truly left your stroller? Let me explain. You see, one thing that has always baffled me is how long so many parents keep their children in a stroller before they finally graduate them to becoming someone who is expected to get from point A to point B without riding in a chariot. Now, I gotta be honest right now out of the gate and say I am reluctant in this moment to do a video that criticizes the way another person chooses to parent. Mainly because I've learned that even the slightest amount of feedback can be often taken as a personal attack. To the point where a person can't even hear what you're saying, but instead only hears the interpretation of what they assume you must be saying about them. Look, I've gone through this a million times with the whole thing around kids and sugar. Okay, so to me, the science on the harmful effects of sugar are pretty conclusive, which is why my children get very limited amounts of sugar. Okay, call me crazy, but I don't think a donut after a little league soccer game is really what their body needs or wants. Okay, I know, nuts. Now, because of this, though, there have been countless times where a parent, has offered my child sugar. And I've had to politely decline with a thank you, to which their body language then says, "Oh, so I guess you're saying I don't love my kids. Is that what you're saying?" And of course, I don't think that. I just don't think that they love their kids as much as I love mine. Okay, obviously, I'm kidding. Okay, but look, I totally get it. It's easy for any parent to fall into that trap of sacrificing long-term pain for short-term gain. Yes, you can watch YouTube, okay? Or fine, we'll just skip your shower tonight before we go to bed. Or here, just eat this candy so that I don't have to hear you whine for 5 minutes. I get it. But whatever it is, it always ends up leading to just more long-term pain. And knowing this, we on our side decided to make our kids walk as early as possible, okay? Much to their chagrin, of course. Because everywhere we looked, we saw kids who were no longer babies being pushed around in strollers, thinking, this is not going to end well. Now, I still see it today, all the time. 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds flopping outside their stroller, feet practically touching the ground, being carted around like a goddamn king or queen. I swear, they must pull up alongside those dogs that also find themselves in strollers and look at each other thinking, I don't know how we pulled this off, but do not say anything. And yes, I know that the argument is that it's just easier sometimes, okay? Especially when you're in a hurry or you've got a lot of things to carry. I totally get it. Look, we got rid of our kids' strollers shortly after the age of 2. And there were times, I'm not going to lie, where I found myself wanting to walk up to a stranger and say, I will give you $10,000 for that stroller right now. Okay, again, I get it, but you get through it. And before you know it, you eventually start noticing that your kids just seem to have this higher level of resilience. You can really start noticing the difference. And you notice that they seem to be less bothered by little things and more open to the idea of just working hard for whatever it is that they happen to want. And this is when you begin to realize that short-term pain can lead to long-term gain. It does pay off. So, what's my ultimate point? Well, let me bring it back to you. Are you a short-term gain or a short-term pain type of person? Okay, not as a parent, but just for you, yourself. For example, are you open, let's say, to the short-term pain of a breakup today? Or could you go through the feeling of loneliness today after moving to somewhere new? Or could you handle that scared feeling of being without work for a little while? Or, could you embrace the uncertainty of not having a close group of friends for the next year or so as you transition to new friendships? I mean, are you able to accept these kinds of things and more, all for the sacrifice of some greater long-term gain in the future? Or are you letting yourself stay in that stroller because it's just easier to get around town? Look, we've all done it at some point in our lives for our own reasons. But eventually we have to decide whether we want to experience the joy of getting through those tough transitions and just feel what it's like to stand on our own 2 feet.